Okay, we have a big agenda tonight. Scott, 6:30. I'll call the meeting to order. You do roll call, please.
Roll call in attendance tonight. We have Roland Mayhew.
Here.
Jane LaRoche.
Hello.
Chair Michael Dellavecchia. Michael Foote.
Yep.
Marcia Hayward.
Here.
Myself, Scott Pelchat. I'll be recording secretary and staff in attendance.
All right, everybody had a chance to review last month's minutes?
I did.
Any
Yes.
issues?
I move we accept the minutes as written.
Thank you, Roland.
I'll second it.
And all in favor?
I.
Beautiful. All right. No extensions tonight, Scott?
No?
Very good. All right, first on the agenda is 64 Hillcroft Road. Are you here tonight? Come on up and tell us how we can help you.
I couldn't find it. It was on Hillcroft, but I couldn't find it.
Hi,
Hello,
Arthur Ozaki. Good evening, 64 Hillcroft Road. Just looking to put garage on the house. Don't have a garage. That's all we're asking for.
Is the lot big enough?
I believe so.
I did see this house.
Do you have any drawings that go with this?
Not yet, not yet.
It was a small one submitted. Mr. Chair, if I could, Mr. Rozaki had gained a variance previously, but it lapsed after the 2 years. He's just looking to get that a new variance to pick up where that one had dropped off.
Okay. A variance was given a couple of years ago?
Yes.
October 21st, 2021?
Gee,
I
how
don't
did you know
remember.
that?
Do you recall?
I am whip sharps.
It's right here. He's stealing my notes again.
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Nothing's changed.
Why is the
Nothing's
face so
changed.
red?
Everything's the same.
Is there an issue with green space on the lot, Scott? No?
None that I have calculated as of this time.
And this building is attached to the existing building?
That's the intention, to connect the two, to connect a garage with the existing house.
And can you tell me how big the garage is planning on being?
We haven't got that far down the process, honestly, but a standard two-car garage.
Was there any notes on when we previously approved this as to what size we approved?
I did include the variance, or the notice of action from it, so it would, yeah, that one right there, Mike, is correct. So if there's anything notated on there, that would be as far as it got. I don't think it made it to the building.
It just seems odd to be able to approve something that doesn't have a design or solid numbers.
Yeah.
But he's just seeking the variance for the front, so it's not,
So it would still have to go through.
yeah, he'll still have to submit the building permit application. That'll need to be approved by code, and then off to the races.
The unnecessary hardship, it says minimum lot size is 2 acres. What's going on with Mr. Rosari's lot?
Could be in the RR1, RR2 minimum lot size for development, is that if it has if it's not a lot of record. So if I'm to build a new, develop a new lot, I'll need that 2 acre minimum. If there's a lot of existence, he just needs the variance to.
Okay.
And there are those lots in this community.
Is it okay if we approve a 24 by 24 garage, or?
I would not add numbers if,
No, you could just approve the variance.
Okay.
You wouldn't be able to approve the size, that would be building code anyway.
Very good.
I'd support that.
I'm just curious about the green space left on the lot after the garage.
Yeah,
is
because that's some of the other stuff that we're not able to see from this
And I could
rudimentary.
capture when the building permit comes to my side of the office, I'll have to do that calculation as well.
All right.
Are there any other questions of Mr. Rosati?
No.
You You can have a seat, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have to ask if there's any members of the public that would like to speak for or against this application. With that big crowd, no takers. Discussion amongst the board?
You know, I did drive down that road today, and now that I did see the lot. And it's not a big lot, but all the lots don't have a lot of green space. It's just mostly trees and pine needles and,
That's green space.
That's green space.
yeah, I know, but it's, yeah, but, and they.
But not, green space doesn't mean
just
lawn
lawns.
with,
Okay, just space.
not
Dirt.
have a
Yeah,
building
I mean,
on
but
it.
it doesn't, I don't think it's going to do any injustice to the neighborhood or anything that
Okay.
I could see.
None of the neighbors are in objection, so I'm in agreement.
What do you think, Marcia?
I went through this process once before, and the board seemed to be satisfied with the answers, so I don't see any reason not to, because he's lapsed, not to reinstate the variance.
Good. I'll seek a motion to that effect.
I make a motion to grant a variance for application ZO 2024-00
50.
50. A variance from Article 6, Section 235-35B to allow for a side setback for a two-car garage. Do we have to go through all the,
No, he has a.
he already
findings
has
of
it,
fact
so I would,
Admitted here, so
Yeah.
submitted.
And
I
then
would just use the same language as the original variance that was approved back in October 21st, 2021.
Very good. We have a motion.
I will second.
Thank you, Jane. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Right?
Okay, Mr. Rosati and Rosaki, is it?
Close enough.
Enjoy your new garage, sir.
He's been called worse.
You're welcome. Next on the agenda is 72 Shore Drive. He's encroaching into the rear setback. State your name, please. for the
Jason
record.
Sproul, 72 Shore Drive. This is Thomas Robinson taking over the project from Mr. Moreau, who originally filed for the variance.
And what are we building here?
Seeking to build a water access structure stairway down to the lake within the shorefront.
They're calling the stairway a structure?
Yeah, because it's within our 50-foot buffer,
Okay.
and I believe they have to get the state permit as well.
Yes, we do need a DES permit by notification.
You don't
Yeah.
have that yet,
Not
right?
yet.
Okay.
Have you already worked with DES?
I'm sorry?
Have you worked with Department of Environmental Services yet?
Mr. Moreau had contacted them.
Okay. And do you have any dimensions of what might be there?
Do you want to give the
So
description?
So there will be a deck, that would be about 16 by 8 foot deck, coming down to a little landing and then stairwell down to the water. Before the deck, there's gonna be gravel and stone steps, cause it's a sloped incline. So just rather than walking the slope, there'll be some,
So there won't be any structure in the water, it'll just be steps going down?
no structures in the water, but there will be before the water.
What is the area of impact that you imagine? 16 by 8 for the deck, and how much for the walkway?
It's approximately 30 feet if you measure linearly along the slope
By 6 feet wide?
by,
16 feet wide.
I mean, down the slope would be 30 feet long and then about 3 foot or 4 foot
Yeah,
wide
3 or 4 foot wide.
for the stairway.
There's an existing path. We're not really gonna extend the path much more than it already is.
I'd like to see drawings, once
Yeah.
again, we have no drawings. A plan of what oh, you do have a drawing here on your Google picture. I see it, okay. Barely noticeable through the trees.
That's the intent.
Very good. Any other questions for these fellows?
No, good.
You could have a seat,
Okay, thank you.
Is there any members of the public that would like to speak for or against this application? I guess not. Jason, one more time, let me just ask, is it a gravel path from the house to the deck?
So there's an existing dirt path that goes out to the top of the sloped area. At the top of the sloped area, there would be a set of landscape steps made with stone and gravel. Those would extend down the slope about 10 to 12 feet. And then beyond that point would be additional steps in pressure-treated lumber.
How are you going to deal with the drainage on this? We have a lot of heavy storms now, a lot of sweeping down these paths. Are you going to be able to utilize any manner of retention other than just letting the sheet flow down into the lake?
So the intent is to not change the existing condition as far as drainage. So the drainage would run under the deck and stair structure as it already runs down that slope.
And underneath the deck and stair, what happens when it presents?
We're not gonna be changing too much to the ground. I mean, aside from digging the footings, which when I'm digging, I'm gonna have silt fence and hay bales down to protect anything.
Silt
going
sock,
in
I
the
will
water.
tell you that conservation will tell you the word silk sock,
Yeah, and then
silt sock.
the gravel steps is kind of go gravel because it allows for drainage to go through. And we're not gonna disrupt the ground underneath the steps.
It's gonna be really nice.
Will you have drawings to present before you do this work?
Yeah, when I get to the permit pulling part. Right now, we're kind of going variants to see if we gotta change sizes or whatnot.
They'll still have to submit through code.
It's just, once again, it seems a little freeform to me that we're doing all of this without any solid drawings, but I guess I have to put my faith into the process and recognize that planning and code and building will make sure that these are done properly.
Yeah, Tom, the drawing on the Google map, it doesn't look like a 16 by 8 area. Am I mistaken?
Or is that the 50-foot setback that you're seeing?
This line
What
right
the-
here,
Yeah.
I think is the 50-foot setback.
You know, it's showing a little
Oh,
deck.
you got more drawing on yours than I do.
I did that
Yeah.
myself.
Okay, that's
Oh.
probably the setback, 50-foot setback.
Right. But
There
this
is no-
doesn't look like 16 by 8. I would think 16 by 8 is more like this.
Oh, is that something down there? I thought it was
I
going to
thought
be up here on the
the
back
deck
of
is
the
up
house.
off the back of the house.
No, this is the area denoted to the left of the S in SPOD.
So no deck on the back of the house?
Correct.
You're doing this whole thing down on the water?
Correct.
Oh.
And so you're going to have a 16 by 8, let me start with this stuff here.
Okay.
This changes it.
Do you have no type of deck behind your house, or
I'm
do you,
looking at the driveway.
Correct. There's no deck
But you
behind the
have
house.
You know,
some
so this would
field
be
stones
More representative of the
on the
side.
back of your deck, any,
Not
for
this
patio?
square
Nope.
show.
Yeah, concur.
I think you did.
I thought the deck was up at the house. I didn't realize it was down by the water.
He doesn't, yeah.
Are you going to have a walkway between the house and the deck down by the water?
There's an existing pathway. I don't have any intention of putting gravel or anything in that. It's perfectly safe as it is today.
So your deck is 128 square feet of impact within the 50-foot setback.
Yeah.
It's only the post of the deck that's impact. Do we count the square footage of raised
Well-
lumber? It's not like it's a patio.
Right, you're right. It's not like a patio. It's a raised deck.
What do you guys?
So am I to assume, and I hate to say that this is like a pathway that's already there down to the structure you're gonna be building?
Correct,
And you're not gonna touch that pathway, leaving it the way it is?
correct.
Alrighty.
What, I have a question here for staff. What is our feeling here? You know, a lot of times, and I gotta kinda come at this from the conservation point too, you know, we allow these impacts within the 50-foot section. How many times do you allow it before you're just not protecting it anymore? And protection being,
I believe that is an opinionated topic. If you're dealing with a wetlands conservationist, their opinion may be different than a developer's opinion. So my take on it is, if somebody reaches out to the state and the state gives them the green light, our setback is much less stringent than the state's. So, you know, it's,
do we have faith in the system?
yeah.
Or you put a condition on it, of course, it would have to be approved by DES
Right.
anyway,
Oh, yeah.
so,
Yeah,
so if DES
Alrighty.
doesn't approve it, then it's not going anywhere, so.
yeah, true.
Sure they wanna get started on it before summer's over. Okay, you just have a seat again, I'm sorry to make you come back. Discussion? I'm okay with the deck.
Yeah,
Or, you know, I mean, every house on the lake has,
But I don't see the picture of the
Well-
dock that goes with the deck.
I can say I was friends with the previous owner of the house, and I used to do a lot of work. It was Carol Pierce's house. And I'm familiar with the back area. She was a preservationist. I mean, you can see the lake from the house, but barely
Yeah.
in the summer, because it's well-treed, kept it very natural, and it sounds like what he wants to do is in keeping with that same framework. With the because there was a natural path, because Carol's grandchildren are always there, and there was that going on, but there was no easy access to the water.
that's
at
what
all.
he's trying to obtain here,
Oh.
and to probably store a
Because
canoe
it was
or two.
rocky right there.
And I guess I would be, I understand it, I get it. But it seems to me that instead of coming back piecemeal or making it a project like that, is there a dock attached to it? Or is it just a nice patio that leads right down to the edge where
Yeah, and
one would wanna put their boat?
yeah, he's not planning on doing a dock, like a major dock that jets out to the water.
And if he were to do that, that's state-driven, has nothing
Anyway.
to do with the city.
Alright, I relax.
Okay. So I don't see an issue with, putting a stairway down to the lake,
And putting the dock
the
within
deck.
that 50-foot setback either.
the deck in the
Yeah, deck
setback.
into the setback.
It's only probably 6 or 8 posts that are actually impact.
Yep,
It's not like
subsurface,
it's
yeah.
gonna be 124 square feet of impact. So, I would entertain a motion to grant the variance. 28, thank you.
Let's see, where is it?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I was going to, but I
You wanna,
couldn't.
Jane?
Oh, no, I lost the page I needed. Okay, no, I've got it.
Okay. All right, you can make the motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion regarding application Z0224-0051 for 72 Shore Drive. Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because he wants to place it far back in for a nice wooded walkway down to the lake. If the variance are granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed. The adjacent homes, there's a lot of woods in between the two, and there will be no harm to any neighbors. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because he'll have easy access to the lake. If the variance were granted, the values of the surrounding properties would not be diminished. From the other properties, it'll be difficult for them to even see what he's erecting. And there's definitely no unnecessary hardship here.
Thank you, Jane. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second,
All right, Marcia, any further discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Enjoy your new deck, Mr.
Sproul.
Sproul.
Sproul, see? Sproul,
You're welcome.
Sproul. Mr. Sproul.
First chicken.
Okay, next we have 24 Keyser Court. Hello, sir. State your name, please.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Verland.
How can we help you tonight?
Well, actually, I was called before the board here for. It was brought to my attention that animals on my property were against regulation.
the animals on your property are what? What are your animals?
They are chickens.
And how many do you have?
Is that relevant to?
Yep.
Because there's an ordinance and there's a number in the ordinance, so I would like to know how many you have.
What is that number and what is the ordinance? Because I've asked for clarification on what exactly constitutes non-pets versus an agricultural endeavor, and I've not been given that. So perhaps members of the board can
have it.
provide me with that information tonight.
I've got it somewhere in here.
Give us a moment, Jeffrey. We'll,
Sure.
Marcia's in
I'm in the
the
search
code
mode.
book.
Well, it's not that, I actually had the specific thing on chickens, which was separate from the book. In fact,
We have that for quick reference from the staff.
This is, we wanted to proceed forward with the special exception.
what did I do with that?
Unfortunately, a special exception won't get him to where he needs to be. It would need to be a variance,
And that's another issue right there.
and then that's an email from, this is from the
Go ahead, Jeff.
Initially, I was alerted that I would be seeking a request for a special exception for non-pets. I applied for that. Everything was hunky-dory. Later on, I was advised that my situation fell into the category of agricultural extensive land use. Now, I don't really understand how a small backyard chicken coop would fall into the same category as, say, a landfill, strip mining. I believe, what else is in that category? Refresh my memory, please.
I think really what we got here is you're in the UC zone.
Correct.
Yep.
And the reason, and there is that chart there on the wall, will illustrate the different zones that are here in the city of Lacombe.
I'm familiar. I can read a map.
Right? And what it is, and we've been through this a multitude of times,
Again, I'm familiar, yes.
right?
Do you not want animals in this area? If so, why doesn't the board just come out and make that?
I'll say it because here you need the reason she asked for the amount of chickens. You need so much space
Yep.
per chicken in the coop. Once you build the coop, you need the setbacks. You need a 60-foot setback for the waste of the chickens,
Correct.
which in a smaller lot of .163 acres is
Is
undoable.
difficult to achieve, but
And we've been here on, Fair Street. We've been through it on North Ave, down
Addison-
onto
Addison
Lafayette
Street.
Street with a goat. And I understand urban farming, but it's it's what, I live on a farm. And it's the attraction of all the other things that come with it, the storage of the food. You start to get in-run from animals around.
We
yeah.
already have all of those animals in the area.
And yet, as
I have had
buried-
deer,
as
I've had
buried
red
the-
foxes, everything that you can name that's indigenous to this area walk through my yard at night.
And as I buried the 2 baby raccoons, who's my neighbor's feed, because they got hit on the road,
Oh.
you can feel the impact of extra feeding. Now, if they didn't feed them, they wouldn't be there.
Okay,
They'd
and
be
if I were to
out in
feed
the
my
woods.
dog outside, how is that any different? So what is this distinction? You all have
It's urban
a precedence
commercial.
for non-pets that's accepted under special exception in this area. So what is your definition between non-pets and agriculture?
In most definitions.
Just look at the animal. I mean, a chicken
Pets
is a
are
non-pet.
domesticated.
I agree.
They're domesticated animals, usually considered cats and dogs, and birds, are usually the definition of what is a pet.
And typically a chicken is defined as a bird.
Now, are you gonna have a rooster too? Are you?
No, I have all hens.
But
But it's still not allowed, and once you open the door, once you start letting all that stuff into your, you get the same.
And I'm sorry,
You
Mr.
wanna
Mr. Foot, but
densify the
that door
people.
is already wide open.
Yeah. I'm all for it, I get it, but
Whether-
in it, I'm not seeing anything
Whether
that's
you
convincing
approve
me.
or disapprove my request tonight, they're already here.
They're in my backyard.
And there's
Mine was
there's
up
not a
at 4
damn
this
thing the
morning.
board can do about that.
well, there is, because you're out of
'Cause there are
compliance
rules.
with the city ordinance.
Okay.
So I think the city can do something if you are not in compliance with
And
the
what
ordinance.
what is that enforcement measure?
I would have to ask Scott. I don't know what happens when you're not in compliance with an ordinance.
I'd like to know.
I believe after a series of letters advising you that the wrong thing may be occurring, the city could take legal action against you to seek fines against you and your actions.
And those include what exactly?
Could be up to, depending on the weight of the court, up to $275 a day.
So essentially, you all are enforcing rules and regulations that you don't have any idea about.
What do you mean we don't know?
oh.
They're right here in the booklet, the
Well,
rules.
I've asked for definitions that.
There is, I don't have my document here, but I went online to the city's website and I looked up the chicken
As have
ordinance.
I.
And I found the whole thing, and it talks about how many you can have.
How many can I have? Please,
It was
enlighten me.
six. It was six. And then you can't have any roosters, and you have to be, I think it was 35 feet away from the back of your house. And
I
you-
have less than 6 at this time and 0 roosters.
So the point is, there are a list of conditions that have to be met, and that was for the agricultural zone. For the agricultural zone. You're
And
not
what
in an
is-
agricultural zone.
Correct. So I am applying for this non-pet special exception. What is the difference between agricultural and non-pets? You've said yourself, dogs and cats, which I would say are pets, and birds, which I believe chickens are birds.
All I'm going to tell you is that when the ordinance was developed for this city, there was a great deal.
When was that?
It was,
Within the past 7 years, and we
Yes.
spent 2 years discussing
Discussing it.
chickens.
I'm sorry,
and ducks.
I was out of the country
but the point is that a lot of people spent a lot of time.
serving active duty in the United States Army.
Thank you very much for your service, I also served.
Okay, but the point is, they spent a lot of time researching it and developing it, and they had input from the community before the ordinance was ever created. So there was a lot of thought that went into the ordinance. So we now have an ordinance with restrictions, and I'm sorry, you don't meet the
And
conditions.
Those conditions are as clear as mud.
I
I have been asking for
Mr. Chair?
clarification.
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yes, sir.
Currently, Mr. Ferland does not have the correct application in. So I think if we table this to the next meeting, it'll allow him to get the correct application in and maybe give him some more time to get the info that he needs from me and research on his own.
And again,
Come back
I
next
asked you for that information.
You will
Failed
receive
to
it.
provide that to me.
It's on the,
It's on the
seriously,
website.
it's
on
I
on
the
have
the
website.
done,
city
I have done my
website.
due diligence and researched on the website.
Well, if I could find it, I'm sure you can find it. I just don't happen to have my copy in front of me, because otherwise I'd hold it right up and say,
Again,
"I
if you can
found
all
this."
cite a ruling an article that I'm against, that I am in violation of, I would be happy to research it on my own time.
Again. that's
Otherwise, I would ask the board to approve my
aye,
application at this time.
Jeff, I just want to tell you,
you're better going for the tabling and getting the right thing right
That's
now.
not-
I'm
That's
in
not what-
favor of
okay.
people having chickens responsibly in their yard if it's not a problem to the neighbors. Believe me. So I'm in favor of it. But I'm urging you to let us table this, just redo some paperwork, come back next month.
Very good.
Things will be better. All right?
Thank you for your time.
So, is this the part where I make a motion to table this till next month?
This would be the
Absolutely.
appropriate
You can-
time.
Yeah, you can just motion to table it without bias. till
Without
next
bias
month.
until next month.
Allow- Yeah, Mr. Ferrell will get the correct one on track, allow some more research, and then move forward from there.
I have a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jane. Any further discussion? We will table this motion till next month.
Get a
If
vote, yes.
Everybody's in favor, thank you. Okay, Jeff, we'll see you next month.
Another chicken.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Did you want to speak?
Yeah, my name is Henry Weatherby. I live on Keyser Court. And I just wanted to say that, you know, Jeff is my neighbor within 50 feet from my house, and I don't have any problem with it. He takes good care of them over there. I don't even hear them. I never knew they were even there, but I just want to say my piece that he's very responsible with it.
Thank you for your
Perfect.
comments.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Should I have asked for public input before we table it?
No, because we
that's
really
fine.
can't, we
Right.
couldn't have worked with that.
That's what I
That was
thought.
It's a
found during the
0.16
process.
acre lot. I mean, that's a plaza.
Okay. Let's hope we could
Oh, we're gonna have fun tonight.
work a little better on that table, this one.
No, so the next one is a variance, that one you can vote on, and then the last one is a variance, they filed the correct.
Okay. Next on the agenda is 205 Court Street. Are they here? Mr. Perez? Hi,
Hello.
folks.
How are you?
Tell us how we can help you.
Well, we have 3 kids, and the 2 youngest ones they're fascinated with animals, and they love all animals. They love them. We have a dog, and we have 2 cats. We have a little aquarium. We have an ant farm, a small one, and they just love animals. So my little one, watching shows, so an egg hacking and for a chicken, and she wants to experience that. And so we're asking to see kind of the same scenario as the other guy, to see if we can have 1 or 2 chickens in our lot. I own the lot behind me. My family lives there, so I know that my lot alone doesn't have the right, what's it called, setback,
Uh-huh.
but I own the lot behind me, so, and my whole family lives there, and I asked them, and they don't have a problem, so seeking,
And we only
Some
have
help.
one neighbor who also had said that they didn't have an issue because we are far enough away from them. And then there is a fence that we're looking to remodel to actually make it a very large backyard.
So when I'm looking at this picture that you have,
Mhm.
is when you say you own the lot behind you?
Yep.
So
where the barber shop was.
where this,
Yep.
is this what you're talking about?
Yep.
Jack the barber shop,
Yep.
and then
This
there's a house
is-
in the back of it we own
Yep.
too.
Okay, so you own this area?
Yep.
Yep.
As well as this area?
Yep, the whole
right?
corner.
So
Yep.
all of this?
Yep.
Okay, so there, I've put some measurements here. First of all, you are aware that this is a non-permitted use?
Yep.
It's a no.
When
the
we find
city.
out, we were like, okay, we'll seek some
No.
advice, and we'll go from there.
In that, according to some research that I've done and with the city ordinance, the coop has to be 25 to 30 feet from the house, which I've tried to measure here,
Mhm.
where the coop has to be. And the waste, you get 2 pounds of manure per chicken per week. So how are you gonna take care of that?
I'll do whatever it takes to keep my baby girl happy.
But I don't know what that means. You're gonna do what? You have 2 pounds of manure per week
You mean
per
like cleaning
chicken.
up the chicken coop?
Well,
Yeah, because
you-
we wouldn't have them free roaming, we'd keep them in the coop.
No, the manure that they produce.
Yes.
The waste that they produce. How are you gonna handle the waste? How do you handle the waste?
Let it grow up.
I'm unfamiliar, but I can do the research. I can put it in a bag and I can dispose of it, whatever the town allows me to do.
You are aware that one of the reasons that they're usually not allowed within your particular zone
Mhm.
is because there's a lot of concern with disease, odor, pests, and waste management.
Yep.
Are the major reasons that you don't see this happening in an urban setting.
I don't see it at all.
That's because there's rules that
That's why we
say
have
no.
rules.
And it's there because there have been extensive discussions in the community about what is appropriate in what areas. And that's why we have different zones.
Yes, sir.
If you live in RR2 or RR1, it's more open.
Yep.
There's, you know what I mean?
And we live in Belmont, and then we moved over here, and we have more space in Belmont when it comes to that. But
So in an understanding like that.
Yep.
Because right across the street from this.
Yep.
On Fair Street, we had a lady who's far over her head,
10 chickens.
10 chickens,
that's too much work.
and it finally just had to point out the unreasonableness of it, you
No,
know?
I agree. And we're not
So-
looking to farm. We're looking for
And
education.
I understand it, I support it, I love kids. I myself tried a goose egg this year, it failed. My dog brought it to me. So I understand that and I support that, but I have a time supporting the
Agreed.
activity. And I'm not anti-chicken, anti-duck, just doing it within at the same time we're doing this, we're going to have people saying that they want more people in these areas, which is going to raise the density for that. And that's on the agenda later on today, so.
Do you know how long chickens live? What their lifespan is?
We have a book, and we started reading
We've
it,
been
but I
doing
don't.
research, and
It's about 8 years, so you say
Yeah.
your children are enamored, they want to take care of chickens, you know, over the course of 8 years, your daughter may decide, yeah, I don't want to
Get
do
rid of the
chickens
chicken.
anymore.
We had a situation a few years ago where
We're just trying to give them the opportunity.
Yep, no, and we understand, but
understand.
you're going, input from the neighbor.
2 years ago, we had a situation in Laconia where a family up on, I think it was North Street in
Yep.
Lakeport,
Pecker,
and they had a rooster. And the problems we had with that rooster for almost a year, till they finally decided they were gonna move to Center Harbor where they could keep their rooster, and that's what they did.
not that we want anybody to move away.
No,
Any other questions for the Perez's?
We would take input from,
You can have a seat now,
okay,
please.
thank you.
I have to ask if there's any neighbors that would like to speak for or against Keyser Court.
not Keys
No,
Court,
this
Sorry,
is
Court Street.
Court Street.
Court Street.
That was the last one.
I did have one letter from Butter.
Oh, thank you. Forrest Letarte sent a letter. They live on Bay Street and they abut 205 Court Street. And he says there's currently a prohibition against backyard chickens in the neighborhood, and I would like to keep the prohibition upheld. I'm protesting on the grounds there's no fence around their yard, and the chickens could potentially escape and walk onto his property and give him free fertilizer. Furthermore, I don't want the pollution, smell, or noise of chickens next door, and encounter an aggressive dog off leash that came after me from my yard, which leads me to conclude that the animal husbandry practices of the occupants are less than stellar. That's from your neighbor, Forrest Letarte. Are there any other neighbors that would like to speak for or against the application? Barring that, discussion amongst the board?
I'm not in favor. It's a
I'm not either.
non-permitted use.
It's 0.13 acres, they don't have any land.
They can't meet the
And
requirements.
They're on top of,
The problem is it's open to door.
yeah,
It does.
it does.
And I will say that this board has repeatedly,
Yeah.
for the same good reasons that we state, have denied the animal husbandry within our compact areas or our, high-density areas.
Well, I've been on the board, we voted it down every time.
And I feel that, I feel the same way.
I
And
do
I've seen nothing to make me change my mind.
Well, that's reasonable. I am in favor of people having chickens if done responsibly and without issues to their neighbors. You never know who could get reelected politically, and we could fall into harder economic times that we are in, and chickens could help feed your family when they have 3 little kids, I believe was, yeah, 3 kids.
So what's the ruling? Cut the covers off the cabinets on the inside?
Cut the cover.
Put up a little chicken wire? They're right there.
You know, people in New York City have chickens in
I
their
understand that, and I'm only being a little facetious.
apartments. Okay.
This is Laconia, not New York.
Well, I just had to express my opinion, and what is the favor of the board? I will seek a motion.
I would make a motion to deny.
And I will second.
Because
Is there any further discussion amongst the
Right.
board? Motion to deny is on the table. Roland, Mike, any further discussion?
do you have support on why you're saying
Is it,
deny?
it does not,
Well, yeah, I will, but he's asking for more discussion before I do that, but
No, I'm going to say I'm on
Okay.
favor
Does
of denial.
All in favor of
No,
denying?
she's got to state the
gotta say
finding of
why.
facts.
Oh, I'm sorry.
well,
Go ahead.
first of all, it starts with, he's asking for, we're talking about application ZO 2024-005, no, that's Keezer Point is a special exception. Looking for
0053.
Marcia 53, which is seeking a variance from,
Got an Article 5, Section 235-28.
okay. And the reason that I would deny is because, number one, the granting the variance would be contrary to the public interest because this is a according to the ordinance, it is a non-use in this particular zone. So it would be contrary to the public interest. And if it is in contract to the public interest, then it is not upholding the spirit of the law. And the benefit of the applicant should not be outweighed by harm to the general public. I think there is harm to the general public, and the harm, if research says that the concerns in urban areas are disease, odor, pests, and waste management. So I think there is a consideration for the general public. The value of the property, I don't know whether the value of the surrounding properties would be increased or decreased with that. I don't have any information. Number 5, the applicants must establish that the property is burdened by some zoning restriction. His property is not burdened any more than any other property next to him regarding this particular ordinance. And I don't find that the use is a reasonable one, given that it is a non-permitted use. And for those reasons, I deny.
Well spoken, Marcia.
Thank you.
And I will second that.
Second.
Wait, we already had a motion, second by Jane. That was findings of fact. All in favor of the denial? And I will abstain.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you,
4-1
Scott.
abstention, yep.
I'm sorry, folks.
No,
Your lot is too small to have chickens. Okay. Next, we have variance from Veterans Avenue. Are they here tonight? Hello, folks.
How we doing?
Tell us how we can help.
Keith Norman.
And I'm Nick Schedule from DuBois and King. So we're looking for a variance for an area variance to allow for 2 units on this property. This is a vacant lot on the corner of Endicott Street North and Veterans Ave. Essentially, you know, the lot was created prior to zoning being established. It's an old lot. It's about 2,000 square feet short of the actual 2.0 calculation for, to allow for 2 units on the property. The calculation right now is at 1.7, so obviously a 0.7 unit doesn't really make sense or could be built. So we're looking to allow for 2 units on the property. You know, it's an allowed use in terms of residential within the zone. It's going to meet all other zoning requirements in terms of setback or height restrictions. And allowing for 2 units is you know, similar to the spirit of the ordinance in terms of it would be similar if a single family was built with an accessory dwelling unit, which would be allowed. A similar, you know, I don't think that would, you know, be any different in terms of having a duplex on the property. He'll be able to meet all the requirements for parking, and you know, I don't think there'll be. It's similar to other uses in the neighborhood in terms of abutting properties and neighboring surrounding area. So, yeah, I think that's it. In terms of being reasonable, it's, you know, similar dimensions as a single-family home. It's not going to have any more impact on the land. It'll meet all the green space requirements, so.
Is there water and sewer there?
There is sewer, right?
There is sewer on Veterans that we would tie into that has been addressed to the water department and sewer department. And we would ultimately, there's a potential usage for a variance, excuse me, would it be a variance? Lori could probably speak to that better, but there's an easement currently that I'm working with an abutter on that might get us water access, but if not, I would put a well in. So either way, we would do town sewer with a well at the very least.
Yeah. It's kind of a unique lot in the Weirs that doesn't have water along its frontage, so.
Your entrance is off from Veterans then?
Yes. Yeah, there should be a design in there that
Yeah, I
shows
see
the.
it.
We did put a plan together on a.
And I
just kind of
remember
sketch
this.
plan.
I thought we had this lot
We did.
a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Wasn't there a lady who was gonna build a house and
Yep.
tie into her brother's?
yeah,
That's the
think
Water.
adjacent lot
that's
next
the
door.
adjacent
Okay,
one.
okay.
It's usually used as a parking lot, like, you know, it's.
I think it's.
I think my math is different than yours. In this particular zone, it says you could have, you need, 1 acre, you could have 6 units.
Yep.
Is what it says. And in an acre, there's 43,560 square feet. Divided by 6 means that each unit would be 7,260 square feet per unit. If you were to double that, because you want 2 units, you would need 14,520 square feet. Your lot, you only have 10,454 square feet, meaning you are 4,000 square feet, not 2,000 square feet short of what you would need. I don't understand how you say you only need
Is that on the-
2,000
Is that for
square.
the density, is that for the lot
That's-
size?
That is for the lot
Because
size
they're
says
gonna do-
six
Yeah, but
units per acre.
They're gonna do a duplex, I believe.
So what is the size of your duplex?
So the lot size itself is currently 12,442 square feet. So if you
It's how
take
much?
12,442 square feet,
Okay,
that's the current lot size, which is equivalent to
Okay.
.2856 acres.
Oh,
So
'cause
we
I have
multiplied
here-
0.2856 times 6,
Okay,
and that gave us 1.7.
because I have your lot size is 0.24.
No, we've got,
That's where I think
Maybe that's off the GIS and.
I was looking at the document that came with it. So my measurements about your lot size are different than what you're telling me. And what's the size of this duplex you want to build on it?
It's gonna be 60 by 38. That's the proposed, and that meets all our criteria for green space and setbacks and everything else.
And I'm just curious, because I like the weirs. Is there going to be parking underneath the unit? Well, how do you
It's
imagine?
it's gonna be garages underneath the units, so there's gonna be 4 stalls, so 2 stalls for each, and then parking in front of those units.
And how many stories, how tall?
I haven't designed the place. I think, I don't know if you got that's like a preliminary, not a preliminary, but like a concept design.
Yeah.
That I submitted just to kind of give you guys an idea of what the type of structure we're gonna be building. It's gonna be that layout, like design-wise, but it, you know, I don't have it until I really go through until I got the approving from the ZBA, I didn't wanna go have an engineered blueprint built. We are gonna stay within, the height limit is 35 feet, but we will stay under that. And then, again, we meet all the setbacks and the requirements of that. There'll be parking in front of those garage stalls as well on the side, which I believe outlines and shows in the design that Pete put together. So again, we meet everything, we're just 3/10 shy of what we need for the 2 units.
Further questions? Okay, fellas, have a seat, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for timing that, Scott. I have to ask if there's any neighbors that would like to speak for or against the application? Or any city resident could speak for or against it, for that matter. That being done,
Right
long
now,
as it's,
right now, it's just an empty lot.
the
with
driveways
brush
are on
on it.
Veterans Avenue.
If you look at the
It would look-
development
it'd be
that's
nice.
happened in that area, all the way down into Guilford, it's very much within the same type
Yep.
of building.
Yeah.
And, I can see the, variance, cause it's right there in the weirs,
It'll be an improvement.
absolutely.
I have no issue with it.
Entertain a motion?
Sure.
I'll make a motion for ZO 202400054 variance for Normandin Properties LLC, tax map 155-223-3 on Veterans Ave. Variance from 23533 of the zoning ordinance to permit 2 residential units where 1.7 are allowed per table 2 residential uses, 6 units allowed per acre. Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because the uses allowed, other zoning requirements can be met. The existing lot is already a lot of record and substandard, and the proposed use is not unlike other development nearby. The variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed because the use is allowed, all other zoning requirements can be met. Granting the variance would do to substantial justice, it would allow 2 residential units in a zone where 1.7 could be approved, nothing to be gained by the public by denial. If the variance were granted, the values of surrounding properties would not be diminished because it would be conforming in all setbacks and height restrictions, and it'll have another, one would imagine, nice piece of property right there in the weirs. Unnecessary hardship was created before the zoning ordinance that we have now, and it's reasonable in that 2 units can be utilized on this piece of property. Single-family home of similar dimensions could be built with the same dimension lot and coverage, setbacks, and be of minimal difference for the proposed height structure. But this allows two families or two parts of a family, or heaven forbid, because we are the Weirs, Airbnb, to be utilized. Those are my findings of fact and my proposal to.
Thank you, Mike. We have a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jane. Any further discussion? As long as the driveway's going out on Veterans Avenue, I'm happy.
Yep, that has to be because there's no curb cut.
Yeah.
We already knew that from,
I see no issues. All in favor?
right?
Unanimous? Enjoy your new duplex, folks.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Alrighty.
Mr. Chair, the next one is same property, special exception for multifamily with a variance for density and parking on the second application. But it is the same lot of record.
I see, okay. 30 Winter Street?
What's the special exception for the first one?
For the multi-
Yeah.
How do you do, folks?
Good, how are you? My name is Nicholas King, I'm the applicant, I'm an architect, and I'm representing Dee Shea, who's the owner of the property. So our property is located at 30 Winter Street, if any of you are familiar. It's currently a warehouse building. The property is quite degraded. The goal of our application is to go through the necessary means to rehabilitate the property and create an apartment of 3 units at the location. We have a number of existing nonconformities and hardships within the property because of the lot size. In particular, we're encroaching on rear and both side yard setbacks. The entire building is within the wetlands buffer. And our parking is effectively limited to being in the front yard setback because there's no feasible way to actually park a car anywhere else on the property. Happy to address any questions that you might have.
You want to put 3 units in that building?
Correct, 3 one-bed units with the goal of providing as much housing as we can to the location for long-term rentals, so no intention of Airbnb or any short-term rentals. Hopefully supplying housing for the hospital, for the nursing staff there, because we understand that that's probably a big need for the town. We feel it's in congruence with the city master plan to diversify housing and increase the available housing that is not vacation related.
How large are these units gonna be? How many square feet?
They're approximately 600 square feet apiece, so if you take the building and chop it in thirds running front to back, they're about 20 by 30 for each unit.
Now,
All
I
one beds.
walked around the house today.
Sure.
And I had a nice person, Mike,
Yep,
who's a Pelham policeman,
yep,
walk me
he's my
around the
business partner,
property.
yeah.
And I noticed in the back,
Yeah.
there was a foundation.
yes.
What are you gonna do with that? Are you extending the building or not doing anything?
So there was an existing structure, so the building's quite dilapidated. It was a
yeah,
structure that
yeah,
was
yeah.
falling down. So we ended up, instead of letting it fall down and kind of roll into that river, we took down the walls that were already coming down and just demoed that. We don't really have the solid plans for the building. We're not looking to expand that footprint.
Okay, so you're not gonna build where that foundation
I don't think
is?
so.
Okay.
The foundation is kind of,
What is the
the
portion?
foundation is questionable already, so we're not looking to expand that. Just the rectangular footprint of the building is what we're really looking to build on.
And out front of the building, you've got grass, and it looks like parking for 2 spaces. Are you going to eliminate that grass to give 3 parking
That's what
spaces?
they're asking for, is that the third space to kind of take the 2 spaces in front, expand it to the side, and take that, another space and carve it into that grass.
Parking.
I mean, if this is what you're building, it's gonna be an incredible improvement on
So
Winter Street.
we're hoping, so the goal was, Mike and I purchased the building back in May, and if you're familiar with the area, we're not as familiar with the area. Mike's from Derry, I'm down in the Nashua area. We learned that it's quite every time we buy a building, Mike is a police officer, he gets calls for service, and we found 6 calls for service at a vacant building in the past 2 years. So we realized it's kind of a rundown, somewhat crime-ridden area. We're trying to improve it, and the building is dilapidated enough that we really need to do everything to the building, the roof, the siding, the windows. And if, for us to do that, economically speaking, we have to try to get as much as we can out of it so we can make the building as nice as possible. We don't do any short-term rentals. It's never been our practice. We want the community to live there. We do actually quite a lot of Section 8 because we want families in there and we want people to stay. So that's our goal. We're hoping to do that, and we're hoping to make it that nice if we can.
I would agree it would be a great improvement. I just have some questions. I look at the lot and I'm concerned about parking. For this to be a 3-unit, that's 1.5 cars, right, per unit?
Right, that's part of the variance is to seek 1 car per unit, given that it's a 1-bedroom apartment for each apartment.
There's been precedents before.
We would diminish it down from 5 for a 3-unit down to a lower value.
And also that parking, even if you diminished it, I just don't see how you get the parking. That, you're right on the street there. And then what happens to the green space that you're supposed to have?
So on this one, the green space is a real thing, but it is a lot of record. And if there is no movement, the green space will exist, all 5 by 8 feet of it.
5 by 8 feet?
Yeah.
Or will it change to something different that, who knows? The green space here, I don't feel is the larger issue.
I think parking is a real issue.
It could be.
In
but
fairness, any,
You have an adjacent lot,
right,
maybe a parking value.
to do anything at this property, parking is gonna be an issue kind of regardless, just given the size of the building in relation to the size of the parcel. Which is another reason we try to stick to single-bed units to mitigate the needs for multiple cars per unit or anything like that.
But instead of being a 3-unit and you went down to a 2-unit, then you could reduce your parking requirement, but you want 3.
Well, a 2-unit would likely require actually 4 cars if there's 2 people living in each
Because it's per bedroom.
per bedroom, if you
It's
think
per
of it that
bedroom.
way, so. And either way, even with a 2-unit, if we have to stick to 1.5 cars per unit, we still need a 3rd spot, either way. So we're trying to find the middle ground and meet halfway if we can to achieve all of that. And there's a number, basically every lot from our lot to the main street there, I believe is it Union?
Union, I think.
Union. I believe every single one of them, or the vast majority of them, are multifamilies, or at least duplexes or
They're usually
multifamilies.
duplexes and there's
Yeah.
a lot of parking on the street or up on the sidewalk and everything.
Yeah, one of them's as big as an 8-unit
Yeah.
with the same lot size that we have.
Wow,
And there's
that's
no
dense.
parking.
So, yeah, we're hoping to at least, have the parking for our units. And
Come on.
Didn't we have, Scott?
Yeah.
Didn't we have something come before us a couple of months ago in that same area? I seem to recall it.
No, I think Summer Street we did.
No.
Yeah, we had 2 over on Summer Street,
Was it
which is
Summer
the
Street?
adjacent one over, down towards the end, yeah. Similar,
Yeah, I thought it was winter.
but, yeah, we had the 2 over on Summer. I don't think we've had anything recent on Winter.
Any more questions for these
I
gentlemen?
do. Where is 30 Winter Street?
it's actually right over the water, right behind you, pretty much.
There's a small footbridge that annexes Winter Street to the old church lot there, and it splits 30 Winter Street, and then the lower number as you work back towards Union Ave.
Mike,
To
right
the,
behind this
Marceau
building is a brook,
Garage, plumbing and heating storage.
and then there's church.
Any more questions for these gentlemen?
No, let's see
Have
what
a
the
seat,
neighbor
please.
says.
and,
Thank you.
I have to ask if there's any neighbors or Laconia residents that would like to speak for or against this application. Bar none? I'm torn on this one.
I was there today and really did walk around. It would certainly look a whole lot better than what's there now.
Well,
And all the buildings there are on top of each other.
they are.
And they have a problem with parking, because they're all on top of each other. Did you see all the
You
cars
know,
all over the place?
If you have 3 units here, somebody's gonna have company and there's no place
Oh,
to
there's no
park.
place to park.
Or
And-
at the other side of this, which we approved one down on Union Ave, just north of the high school, that went from being a business to a
Apartments.
residence.
I remember.
And the attitude there was they could deal with the parking or they'll ride a bicycle.
They had 2 parking slots on Union Ave in front of that building.
The units are
That's the
600.
building.
But we increased the residential component of that building.
Yeah.
These units are only 600 square feet, so they're not gonna have more than 2 cars for one of those units.
Well,
Doubtful.
you can't. There's only
They
one
can't.
parking spot, you know? And you get away with it in the summertime, but come November 15th, or is it November 1st?
Well,
Right.
Whenever Mother
There's no
Nature
road parking.
decides. Yeah.
And how did they get around it?
I mean, you can, multiple family is permitted in this zone, so it meets the special exception for letter A. But B, will it create traffic congestion? And I'm concerned that it will, and also when it comes down to criteria F, is the request can't create any hazard, health or safety, or general welfare, and I just think the whole car issue impacts those 2 criteria for the special exception.
It's a dilapidated building. I'd love to see it.
I
Say
agree.
stop.
Mr. Chair.
Are we allowed to clarify?
Sure,
this
Nick.
question?
Go, come on up.
So on the health, safety, and welfare, the building is currently pretty ridden with breaking and entering, drug use, and all of that stuff. So the building in its existing state is actually more of a detriment to the health, safety, and welfare than
Yeah.
the improvement. As for the parking, we'd be probably the smallest unit on the street. So we'd be the least impactful to the hazards of parking and traffic than any of the other units along Winter Street.
So for 3 units, single bedroom,
1 car each.
1.5, 1.5 is 30, 4.5 cars, you can't have a half a car unless you have a motorcycle.
Not good in the winter.
Right, so,
Those are current values, though.
That's a heavily traveled.
Unless
current
you-
values for parking,
Yeah.
and some of this could be getting reviewed.
To me,
You
it
never
makes
know.
sense.
You never know.
There's always
Little
language
junk
with the
area.
state
No, it's
currently,
looking
so
beautiful.
you never know.
That's
what
why
may
they
happen.
have the
All the
zoning
other
board of
people start
adjustment
cleaning up
to
their yards.
deal with issues like.
So do we have room
They're
for
gonna
4,
deal with- they're gonna
4
deal
parking?
Starting from scratch.
I think physically it would, unless they're smart cars or
And it's high
motorcycles, it would,
density there already.
3 is the absolute
3?
maximum
Three is
to
it.
be comfortable.
With this, you can set provisions or conditions, so
And
you
this
could do
Right.
that.
I know, I
If the
figured it out.
multifamily is granted, it would still have to travel to
They
planning
bought
board.
this place, they want to get as much as they can.
That's all
Of course they
multifamily,
can.
will have to
No, they
find
won't
their way
be.
to
He's got
planning
a-
board
a
after
few
any approvals
properties
at
from what I
ZBA level.
understand.
You know, I can see this if we, you know, if it's 3 parking spaces in some of these other discussions that we've had in this community before, and it's 3 units of 625 approximately.
Yep, plus or minus.
You know, for a building that's 2,000 and change, 690 is what if you divide it by 3, but 625, single bedrooms, car. I can see this as an upgrade for the neighborhood.
I agree
And I
totally.
can get behind that. And it gives you 3 more fresh units of housing, which we need.
So you would set forth the provision or the condition of the parking at 3?
Correct.
Okay.
We've made exceptions in the past, you know, people building and they don't have quite enough parking spaces, and we've done exceptions, but I don't want to create a nightmare of cars on the road.
That street has them too.
It already is a nightmare.
It's a crowded area.
It is a crowded
Winter Street's
area.
already a nightmare.
So the other part of it would be that you have if you go to 3 parking spaces, then those would need to be off the street.
Of course, yeah.
And they are.
And if you pave your 8 by 5 green space,
They can have an impervious sidewalk, so it
Yep.
helps out with drainage a little.
yep.
They're in wetland buffer too, so,
Oh, wetland buffer too.
Mm.
you know, behind them, there's plenty of, you know, it's Lower Winter Street. It exists as it exists.
It's a lot of record.
I made my path to the city mere feet from that building in a 300 square foot apartment with 1 spot.
A tadpole in the brook, as it were.
Yeah, I was over on Summer Street, 300 square feet, 1 parking spot.
What was this building?
I don't
It was
know what
a storage for a plumbing and heating company.
Oh,
Yeah, but Summer Street has a little more open space than
yeah.
Winter
than
Street
this
does.
does, yeah.
Winter Street is probably the single most
Dense.
densely populated
As we
street
know,
in the
arteries
entire city of
narrow.
Laconia.
I mean, we could markate both sides of the street, do not park. We could come back the next day.
And then park on top of the signs.
Yep. So,
I think it's an improvement. Big,
I concur.
Winter Street needs a lift.
I'm in agreement as long as we set the condition on the parking.
I concur.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion.
so again, you
Wait, we
would
have
have to
to
do
do,
the,
The first one.
Yeah.
and then before we do the second one, you'd have to reopen it to the public for
Okay.
the variance one.
Well,
But-
You want special
So right now,
exception
we're
for
doing
this?
the special exception.
Yeah, for the multifamily.
Right. So I would be more than happy to go through.
Which one do you want first?
The special exception. I make a motion to grant a special exception for 30 Winter Street, which is application ZO 2024-0050, allowing for a multifamily unit in the RG zone. A, it is permitted to have a multifamily in the RG zone, so therefore we meet that requirement. B, request will not create traffic congestion. We will deal with that under special provisions in letter E. C, request would not lead to an increase in public water, drainage, or sewer. There is no info from DPW that it would put a burden on city services. Letter D, request would not create excessive demand for fire schools or solid waste disposal. We have no information that it would create an excessive demand. Letter E, here comes the special provisions set forth in order to grant this, is that the parking be restricted to 3 parking spots. And F, request not to create hazards of health, safety, or general welfare, and by refurbishing the building would actually improve the health, safety, and general welfare of Winter Street. And the proposed location is appropriate because other units on that street are of similar size and have that similar use.
Thank you.
I will second.
Thank you, Jane. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next on the agenda is 30
4 to 1.
Winter Street. We have to
This is a variance.
Michael, it was 4-1, not all in favor.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Gotcha. I
I
got it.
didn't even look, Roland, my neck is a little stiff. You got that, Scott, for the record?
And then on the variance, by making that provision on this one, you can still make it as one motion, but now you're just, you would just be approving more of the density, because you've made a provision for the parking, so.
Okay,
But
so then
but we would
We
still
have to
have.
go through
if
the whole
there's
thing,
any-
okay?
Yep,
Wait,
sorry
wait,
about
Marcia,
that.
we're about to approve a variance for 30 Winter Street to allow increase of density to 3 units. I have to ask if there's any residents that would like to speak for or against the application. That being none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the variance, approve the variance.
I make a motion to accept the variance for 30 Winter Street, application ZO 2024-0037, a variance from Article 6, Section 235-33 regarding maximum density. And findings of fact are the proposal would not conflict with the ordinance because it does meet the essential character of the neighborhood that exists. So therefore, it is not contrary to the public interest. And if it's not contrary to the public interest, then it is holding or adhering to the spirit of the ordinance. So that's number 2. Number 3, substantial justice is done. The benefit is to the applicant. Is not outweighed by any harm to the public. There is no harm to the public. Actually, you're improving the environment, the public environment of Winter Street. Number 4, values of the surrounding property should be improved by this, by granting of this variance because the building is currently dilapidated. And so creating new housing would be an improvement to the neighborhood. Number 5, the applicant, the property in this application, the conditions of the property are that it's an existing
Lot of
lot.
existence.
And so therefore, the use of the lot, this is a reasonable use of the lot, given its size.
Thank
It's the
you
best
for
I can
that
do,
motion.
guys.
I will second that.
Thank you, Mike. Any further discussion? We have it that there's 3 off-street parking spots.
Yep.
And that, and,
Yeah, I'll make that note in there.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
1,
It's 4-1.
4 to 1.
Got it.
Thank you, Roland. Right. Enjoy your triplex, folks. Moving right along. We have 92 Pine Street, seeking approval to allow for 3 units. That's that old store.
No. This has come before us several times, hasn't it? Yeah.
Hello, sir. State your name for the record, please.
Hi, Thomas Labrie.
How can we help you?
I'd like to be able to have the density requirement for 92 Pine Street increase from 1.8 to 3 units.
Good sized building.
This building came before us like a year ago. The guy wanted to put,
This time
Actually,
5 or
it
6
came
units.
before you
Twice.
twice last
Twice.
year.
Okay.
And the last time it came before you, the person was looking for 5 units. The time
Yes.
before that, they were looking for 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
Last August meeting, you, Mike, said, come back to me with a proposal for 3 units.
Yep.
Here we are.
And here we are.
Here we are
Fucking
today.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I can see this.
3 is the lucky number.
Your face is
Well,
red again.
Just so you know, that's, I mean, the square footage there is adequate.
Yes.
We're looking at two approximately 1,200 square foot apartments downstairs with a future upstairs of 1 unit. Parking is more than adequate. And as a matter of fact, we plan on taking the parking that's on the Pine Street side and ripping that asphalt up and putting some green space in.
Well,
Nice.
Nice.
think of that.
There'll actually be more green space along the other side. I mean, we'll need, per code, 4.5 parking spaces. We have about 12.
Yep.
So we're gonna reduce the parking lot on the Tyler Street side to probably 8 or 9 spaces.
Very good.
Finally.
Scott, let me ask,
Yes.
why does he need a variance with his
So-
lot this size?
Density.
So the lot is,
In,
you know, if it was 1 acre, like Mike had said earlier, 1 acre usually nets you 6 units. So this is below half an acre, so as Mr. Labrie said, it is sub 2 units of density, so he'll need that push to get him to the 3rd unit. Once he achieves that, the special exception has already been gotten prior, you know, so it's just a density push, and then Mr. Labrie will be able to develop that property, and I'll never have to refer to it as the Pine Hill Market ever again.
I know.
People still will.
Yeah.
I
They
know.
still will. Pine Hill, Tyler Street. I don't remember what it was before that, but it was before my time.
The lot seems big, is it that small?
Yeah, the lot is .3.
Okay.
.3.
The size of your lot.
The building is big, is what,
Yes.
these nice apartments.
Yeah.
The building's huge. I mean,
Yeah.
you could easily fit 4 apartments in there, but I don't wanna push it as far as density.
I'm,
I think got turned down too many times to,
It'll be nice
know,
to see.
sub-
Three is
And
sufficient.
he does
three is in
have good
keeping with what's
apartments.
going on.
What's
up in
around that area,
up and
exactly.
around that area, so I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
and in keeping with the store, you'll call it Pine Street Apartments?
I don't know, we've got a big sign up there, it'll probably come down, but we could.
So,
Pine Street Apartments.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Labrie?
no,
Roland, Jane? Okay, Tom, have a seat,
Thank
and I have to ask if there's any neighbors that would like to speak for or against the application to come up and say your piece, please. And in honor of Steve Bogart, I'll do a countdown. All right, none being said, finally, we'll get this building
Oh my
fixed up.
goodness.
I know,
do it.
it's great.
I support it.
I'm
I
so
do
excited
too.
about this.
Okay, let me entertain a motion to approve.
Okay, let me
this
do that
variance.
for you.
Yeah.
Okay, Z2024-0057, we're looking for a variance for density for 92 Pine Street, tax map 443/184/85. And our zoning is in RG. Variance of Article 6, Section 235-33. The density of property to be increased to 3 units. Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because based on prior use of said property and surrounding properties, there'd be no disruption for traffic flow in the neighborhood. Also, we would point out that it's a non-commercial use, so there'll be less traffic. The ordinance was put in place, the variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed. The ordinance was put in place to avoid, over-densifying, units in a building. And this is looking for 3 units, this is very reasonable for this lot. Laconia is in the variance would do substantial justice because Laconia is in dire need of new housing units, and this would transform a building that has been underused to sustain a business and be able to create some much-needed units. Variance are granted, the value of the surrounding properties would not be diminished. Granting this variance will enhance the curb appeal and the property in general. And by utilizing an otherwise empty building, we'll be able to move forward with betterment of the neighborhood. No fair and substantial relationship exists between general purposes of the proposed or the ordinance provision and specific application of that provision on the property, because there's enough parking to be able to provide for 3 units. And it'll definitely be a welcome utilization of this building.
And he's increasing the green space.
And he's increasing the green space.
Very good. Thank you for that motion, Mike. I'm looking for a second. Any
Second.
takers? Roland, thank you. Any further discussion? I'm all in favor of this project, all
Aye.
unanimous. Thank you for your vote
Finally,
and support.
something's gonna
Okay,
happen.
Tom, you're set.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you for your
Fix that
patience
building
and
up.
indulgence.
Hopefully by
That'd
winter,
be great.
we're ready to go.
That'd be great.
Okay. Moving right along, we have 53 Pearl Street. The applicant is seeking a variance to allow female ducks in the RZG zone. Come on up, ma'am. Tell us how we can help.
Hi, my name is Joanne Moran, and I've heard all of your objections earlier in this, so I'll be short and sweet, so you can decide. I do think this is a thoughtful proposal. It's only 2 ducks. You could think of them as pets if you'd like. But the reason why we propose the coop where it is because it's totally shielded, noise-wise and vision-wise and smell-wise. We own this whole lot. It's a unique lot, Laconia. It's got 2 buildings on it. There's 2 streets surrounding it, so it's not like it's in the middle of a dense area. We're bordered by 2 streets. And I've given information on ducks. They're less noisy, less problems with, we're gonna compost the waste. We have some gardens and fruit trees and so forth, and it's very valuable compost, this kind of waste. And I'm not sure the volume per duck. It seems like it's a little bit less than that huge volume.
The 2?
Yeah, for the chickens, so I can't guarantee that. I haven't looked that up. And in terms of disease issues, it's about keeping care, changing the water, making sure things are clean, like any other pet that you have in your house. So I'll leave it there, see if you have any questions. I think it's a very small proposal, and it's really for food costs are so high, for fresh food. We do our own gardening. We do have a preference for fresh, healthy food, and that's why we want to do. We have an extensive garden and fruit trees, and we have a chronic illness that we're trying to eat right. So that's really the purpose. But I understand, you may reject it anyway. But that's my pitch. Any other questions or?
Thank you, Joanne.
Okay.
I do appreciate the fact that you sent pictures in of what you wanted to use, and you gave us all that nutritional information about the duck eggs and everything. That was very nice. And the fact that you actually said you were gonna compost the waste,
Yeah.
which I didn't hear from anybody else, how they were gonna treat the waste. Do you have a vet if your ducks get sick? What do you do?
Well, that's a great question. I think we'd have to look into, we've had dogs all our lives, so I'd have to see if they can handle it or whether we'd have to find an agricultural vet.
There isn't a local vet that handles
Okay.
fowl.
All right,
You
we'd have to
You
look
would
for
have
that.
to get an agricultural vet.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So-
called.
That's very interesting.
Because one of the things,
So
that,
probably
if you're
in
gonna
Plymouth-
have a pet or
How about a
whatever,
regular house bird?
I don't know, they don't handle
They don't get
chickens or
sick.
ducks.
Yeah, so maybe a.
So-
Plymouth or
I would
Concord.
say that my veterinary, I went to him with my dog, and there in the car next to me was someone coming in with their rooster.
Well, that's what,
And I
who's your
wouldn't
vet?
even imagine bringing a rooster to a vet, it's just quite beyond me.
Ducks are pretty quiet too. They're not, and plus it'd be two females, no males, because that's the whole idea, just eggs. But, you know, they barely, they get a little nervous, they do a little bit of chitter, right, but they're not loud at all. Plus, this it's in a spot that people aren't gonna even notice it, but, well, who knows, people may object. I don't know if there's neighbors here or not.
I was there today and I walked around and it was very difficult to look for the coop going on the right side of the house, because I would have had to climb over so much junk in the yard and the 2 feet of grass I would have had to go through. So I went down the side road and went in this way, and I came to tears. You know, it just bothers me, I guess, to see ducks in a cage with a pool of filthy water.
Oh, well, that
That's
gets
part of the
changed
deal.
every day. We
Yeah.
change that, yeah. That would get changed.
Pardon?
That water has to get changed regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Today it was awful,
yeah, so, all right.
awful.
Doesn't
It
take long.
it just made me sick to see their wings clipped and them in a cage, I'm sorry. I had to say that.
How do you keep the ducks from flying off? They're not like chickens.
their
Chickens can't
wings.
fly.
Their
Ducks
their
can.
wings were clipped.
Yeah, they won't fly off, and also, just to protect them, you also have a top to the coop, because
stay
you
in
don't
the
want
cage,
something
don't-
coming in, killing them. So,
You never let
but
them
I
go.
don't think they fly. I think you buy, the poultry that you buy,
Can I ask you what type of ducks they are?
the ones, yeah, we want, I don't know the species, I don't know. My daughter researched it,
Khaki camels can go to 12 years old.
yeah. Yeah, oh, I think they last quite a while, yes.
Daffy Duck.
And what are you gonna do with the solid waste that the ducks produce?
Oh, we'd like to compost it and use it for fertilizer. It's quite valuable as fertilizer, and we do a lot of composting. We've been composting for years and using the soil on our property.
Okay, Joanne, thank you for your presentation. Have a
Thank
seat,
you.
please. I have to ask if there's any neighbors that would like to speak, or Laconia residents would like to speak for or against this application. Yes, sir. State your name for the record, please.
Scott McWilliam, 61 Pearl Street. Mr. Chair, board members, thank you for giving me a moment to speak. I'm an animal lover. I love ducks, dogs, geese, goats, you name it. I don't have anything against them. Some of these animals are farm animals. They are not pets. I understand their applicant is not treating them as pets, but rather as some sort of food source. However, these are farm animals. This is a very densely populated residential area. Very small lots, probably less than a third of an acre. I'm very concerned about odors, waste management, not only that, but nuisance insects that waste can attract. I feel that it would I would argue it would have a negative impact on the neighborhood as well as my property value. So I would ask the board, please consider denying this request for the special exemption. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McWilliams. Anybody else? That being said, I thought ducks were, like, good to clean up the yard.
They were in a
Foul. There's a reason they call them foul.
They were in a small cage.
I know exactly what it is. I had to clean it out, the swim thing every day myself. And then unless you have a recycle set up for your water with a filter set up to help keep it clean.
I will reiterate every comment I made for 205 Court Street, and the answer is no from me, and that's the rationale.
Read it.
I saw, just made me sick.
I'm not anti-duck.
Okay, Jane did not like the conditions of the yard.
After the duck coop was cleaner. And that's not saying much.
Okay, seems like we have a consensus to deny the variance.
I'll make a motion to deny the variance for 53 Pearl Street, application ZO 2024-0058, Article 5, Section 235-28. And Scott, my rationale, if you just take everything I said for 205 Court Street and use it as the finding of facts for Pearl Street, I think it all applies.
Thank you.
Same reason.
Marcia, we have a motion.
I will second.
Thank you, Jane. Further discussion? I want to go on record saying that I'm in favor of responsible chickens, ducks, goats, whatever have you, if done properly, and it's not a nuisance to the neighbors.
And in the proper zone.
In the proper settings. Any other discussion? All in favor of denying the variance? I will abstain, Scott.
Yep.
So I'm sorry, Joanne,
The blue meanie's got you.
we can't help you tonight. Alrighty, no chickens, no ducks, we're all gonna be starving.
I've got to find my document. If I didn't bring it on chickens, then I have it. Yeah.
What other business do we have before us
The
tonight?
house yard was
Currently,
disgusting.
nothing on
I
the
couldn't
agenda.
even walk. They only had
Anything
about
that
this
you
much
have,
land.
Mr. Chair, or?
Neighbors parking garage in the house. Oops, I thought, I'm sorry.
Scott speaking.
Oh, nope.
Where's the rest of our support team tonight?
Prior engagements on one, and Rob and I had talked today. There's no, I just.
No requirement for them to be
Yeah,
here,
I
but
told-
thank you for your presence.
I told Rob
and
I had
your
this one
assistance
handled,
to run
so.
help run the meeting. Thank you,
Yeah.
Scott. I
Yeah.
appreciate it, believe me.
No, it's always my pleasure, so.
Thank you.
So you're getting extra pay?
He gets overtime for being here tonight.
Okay.
So you're going to adjourn the meeting then?
Well,
Yes.
unless there's any other business
Two
before us.
spectators left tonight.
Motion to adjourn.
8:10 PM, perfect.
Lovely.
Bear with me 1 second.
People
Let me know when we're offline.
He's the one that came up and